Hey everyone, I'm back here again. It's Miss Kaylee, and I wanted to share another activity this week that you guys can try at home with your little ones. The first activity is called Does It Roll? So we're going to be talking about some three-dimensional shapes and playing a game. This game can incorporate things such as turn-taking for encouraging social emotional development. So some of the materials you may need for this activity are household objects that can clearly represent geometric shapes. So things such as small cans for cylinders. I actually used an oatmeal container. Things like tennis balls or bouncy balls that can represent a sphere for children, funnels or party hats that can represent a cone, or blocks that might represent rectangular prisms. Or lastly, I used a Kleenex box with equal sides that represented a cube-like shape. You can also incorporate tape for like a finish line or a piece of string, and a blank piece of paper and some markers to actually do a T-graph to analyze and represent your data at the end of which objects roll and which ones don't. So let's begin. So before you guys start rolling each item to determine if they roll or not, let your child explore the different objects and talk about the shapes of the objects. You can use words such as flat, round, or curved, and even pointy to talk about the different shapes and actually label the objects by their three-dimensional shapes. So like I talked about spheres or cylinders, and these are going to be new words for these young children. So it's important to discuss the different three-dimensional and two-dimensional shapes so they understand the difference between each. If you feel that your child already understands the concept between two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes, you can go a little bit further and even talk about the different number of sides that an object might have, or edges. This is a great way to incorporate math, talking about the number of sides and edges, and even talking about the different shapes of the objects. After discussing the different objects, you can start playing the game. Allow your child to start rolling each object individually a short distance on a flat surface. Try to encourage your child to get the object to the finish line, wherever that finish line may be for you guys. Talk about whether the object did roll or if it didn't roll, what you guys saw through your observation together. Did it go past the finish line? Did it go farther or shorter than another object did? And talk about why that might be. For instance, my cube didn't go very far. Other areas of development this activity includes are language. Children use language to describe shapes. These shapes and other mathematical words help them organize their thinking about shape, position, and direction. So for motor, like always, turning the shapes to get them to roll strengthens the small muscles in children's hands, fingers, and wrists. And for social emotional, I kind of talked about that in the beginning with turn taking. So playing this game gives your children practice following simple rules. So implementing that rule in the beginning that we're going to take turns. So first it will be your turn, and then it will be mom's turn. So allowing your child to hold and manipulate three-dimensional shapes helps them learn about their properties. They begin to notice what is the same and different about the objects. So again, you can emphasize on those words I was talking about. So talking about flat surfaces, round surfaces, curved. Once you guys finish testing out the different objects, you can then create your T-chart graph together to talk about which ones rolled and which ones didn't. You can have your child place the objects on the side of the graph that represents their observation. The next activity activity is a fine motor cereal activity. This activity has very easily accessible materials that you might actually already have in your home. So I utilized Cheerios, thin spaghetti noodles that were uncooked, and then just an actual spaghetti strainer, noodle strainer. And what I did was I turned the strainer upside down and I put some of the noodles inside of the holes sticking upward. And then you can allow your child to actually use the Cheerios onto the hard spaghetti noodles. So they actually have to concentrate, and they're really working hard on that fine motor and then that spatial awareness and hand-eye coordination to actually take the Cheerios and place them on the spaghetti noodle. This takes a lot of serious concentration and that impulse control to actually like sit still and breathe and focus on placing the Cheerios on the noodles. It takes time, and it actually incorporates to strengthen those fine motor muscles, like I was saying, and those wrist movements, and they're kind of more refined at this point. So this is something super simple and easy you can do by having your child sit inside during a rainy day or when it's cold out or what have you, and you guys can actually work on this at your kitchen table. Again, I recommend that this be supervised just because you're using small objects like the Cheerios, and they could potentially be a choking hazard, so just making sure that you're monitoring your child while you do this activity as well. But I hope you guys have a great week, and I hope you enjoyed these videos, and I look forward to doing another video next week. Thank you so much for watching.